Okay, so today we are going to actually make our building bar much more responsive. So here you can see whenever we hover our mouse to this specific building item, it will become yellow, right? And if I hover on rest of the items, that border color will change accordingly. And also whenever I click on this specific item, it will remain uh, on that selected event, on that selected style, right? Likewise, I can select on the rest of the items as well, right? So let's see how we can make our building bar responsive like this. Okay, so let's add some responsive effects to our building bar items. So the first thing, actually we have to go to the WB building item, and inside the graph let's override the event which is on mouse end, right? So this is the event responsible for the entering the mouse onto our building item, and we need one more function to be override, which is on mouse leave, right? So actually let's play let's print some string and check whether these stuffs are working. So our name says enter, and this one has leave. So let's play the game. Okay, so here you can see that events are called. So entirely events are called. Okay, so the first thing actually we have to do is set this border color. So I'll make this as variable by clicking this tick, and then we can go to the border and set brush color, and I'll make it as something yellowish, and on leave the color should change for some maybe for some gray color, right? And by default actually this color should be placed at the update building item function. So by default the border color will look like this, right? Okay, so let's play again. Okay, now you can see the colors are changing, right? Okay, and the next thing actually I have to do is whenever I select a specific building item, it should become this selected color, right, which is yellow. So in order to do that, actually we can do something like this. Let's create a variable called is selected, and I'll make it as a boolean. Okay, and then let's create a function called toggle select, and let's assign this variable over here. Also this color change should be happened over there as well. Right, so if selected sorry, so if selected it will look like this, if not it will visualize its default color, Okay, and then we have to call this function whenever we click our button, right? So in the button component there are several events predefined. So let's use this on clicked, and at the on clicked we have to toggle select this specific button, right? And maybe we can use flip flop, and in the second click it will become deselect. Let's play test again. Okay, since it's not working, first let's check whether this event is triggered. Yeah, it is triggering. Yeah, so actually issue is this, right? So even if we selected, whenever we leaving our mouse it will override to this card, right? So we have to specifically say if we are not selected, do this change. Okay, so similarly on mouse leave event also should be type guarded like this. Okay, let's check again. Yeah, I can see actually that value is holding, and then we can click and that value will be selected. Also we can click again and it will be deselect. But now we have another problem, which is actually if we click multiple items, everything will be get selected, right? So ideally this is not what we want. We only need to be able to select one item at a time. Okay. So basically we have to use this building bar, because this is the parent component which holds all of these items as childs. So let's yeah, maybe we can create a function over here to deselect rest of the items, right? So I'll create a function called update selections, and actually we first should be aware of these 4 items, right? Yeah, so let's call this as current selected item and then actually it's better to have enumeration, right? So do we have an enumeration for the building types? No. So let's create the enumeration as well. Building type. Let's create 4 building types. First we have lumber hut, and then we have a barn, and we have a mine, and finally we have a house. Okay, So let's assign this enumeration over here. Let's call it as type. And it should be this building type. Instant readable, expose on spawn, and add to this category. So let's go to the building bar, designer view, and we have to manually select this specific type. So here this is a lumber hut, and this should be a barn, this should be a mine, finally this is a house. Okay, and then inside this update selection function, this parameter should be type of building type. Okay, great. And then we have to select, basically we have to check the currently selected item type. No, maybe we can get this reference and call the toggle select. So actually I'll first do in the hard coded way, and later on let's see we can do any optimization. So let's use this switch. So if I selected the lumber hut, right, and yeah, let's name these components as well. So building item lumber hut, barn, mine, and house. Right, so it will be easier for us to identify what are these items. So if we selected lumber hut, we should deselect rest of the items except the lumber hut, right? So I'll create another function, deselect items and deselect items and let's take an input, selected item, and simply we have to check this type, get type. So if this is equal to this specific item, no, not equal to this specific item type, then we should the toggle selection, which is deselected. Okay, so similarly actually we have to do this 4 times. Okay, actually there are much more optimized ways by using maybe event dispatches. You can do more proper selection, but right now actually I need to do a simple select and deselect behavior. So selected item, replace these values. Yeah, so this is lumber hut, this barn, mine, and house. Okay, and then let's go to the update selections. Yeah, actually you can now directly use this deselect items function, right? We don't need this function anymore. Okay, I'll remove that update selection, and then so whenever we click this specific item, we should dispatch an event called maybe event on click building item. So maybe I'll call that event dispatch over here, and as the input we have to pass the type, which is our building type, like this. Okay, so the event will be dispatched over here, and then we can go to the W building bar, and at the construct we can bind to that specific event. Bind event on dispatcher. Bind event to event on click building item. And actually I'll select this thing, and let's create a function called selected barn. So if the barn is selected, rest of the items should be deselected except the barn, right? So similarly I have to create another one for the lumber hut. Bind event to event on click building item. Let's add a custom event called selected lumber hut, and deselect the items. Okay, and let's use mine and bind event to the event on click building item. And let's add 2 more pins and plug it over here. Another custom event called select mine. Again the same function we can use. And finally house, and we can bind this event and call it as select house and use this function call. Okay, so maybe there will be bugs, I don't know exactly. So let's play test. So I can click and that thing will hold, and I can click on this item and you can see that the previous item has been deselected, and again, yeah. So I think now the click effects are working properly, right? But yeah, so there is a small delay in the, uh, and yeah, so we have correct types over here. So number heart, deselect item, okay, so the deselect item function, selected item. Yeah, it seems like there is a small bug. Let me see how we can fix it. Yeah, actually, instead of using this function, maybe let's try to directly invoke selections. So toggle select. This is for the barn, and toggle select over here. And mine. Yeah, so actually the issue is happening at the flip-flop event, right? Because yeah, maybe yeah, let's plug the deselect item again. So I'll keep it aside. Maybe let's disable this flip-flop. Instead of that, let's just directly toggle our item. And yeah, now here you can see we have a smooth toggling effect, right? Great. Actually, we don't need this thing there, right? It happens because of this flip-flop, right? So I'll remove that thing for now. And yeah, so you can see the values are holding. And later on, actually, we can perform the deselection of this specific item once we place our actual building on the map, right? Then actually this item will be deselected. Okay, so I think that's it. And yeah, now our building bar is responsive, right? So maybe there are better ways of doing this selection and deselection, but I just wanted to follow the most simplest case, right? Basically what we have done was we created this specific function called toggle select, and based on that it set these values. And in order to identify this specific click event for each unique building items, we created this event on click building item dispatcher, and it dispatched this specific item type. And then our building bar, which is the parent component, listen to this specific event by using an event listener. So we have to bind our building items event dispatchers like this, and they will listen to this specific event. And whenever the specific event get triggered, it will get the specific type and do the deselection. And the deselection, basically it will deselect the rest of the icons except the selected type, right? So it will go through all the items and do the deselection, right? So this is the most simplest case where we use functions and event dispatches to perform a generic selection and deselection of item list. Okay, so in the next tutorial maybe we can do building placements or stuff like that. So I'll see you there, and thank you.